Welcome back to Theoretical Nonsense. Today we're going to be discussing Season 5, Episode 3, The Pulled Groin Extrapolation, and we're breaking down, is Sheldon wrong about the krengjai? The answer to Sheldon's brain teaser, model train sizes, and betting ceremonies. Stay tuned. Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot,
Make yourself a grasshopper,
and enjoy the ride. Hello there, Ryan.
Hello, Rob. How's it going?
Things are going amazing because we just watched the Pulled Groin Extrapolation.
Oh, yeah.
Extrapolation right there.
Extrapolation?
Extrapolation. No, extrapolation.
That's what I was calling it, extrapolation. Like, that's a weird word. And I'm like, I don't know. Is it?
I know, it's so funny. You never use the word extrapolation, but you hear it every once in a while. Yeah. So then you just kind of read it off your notes. Extrapolation. So
okay.
We're off to a horrible start. It is the Pulled Groin Extrapolation. Please, everybody, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. It's great. And we know what we're doing, we promise.
We totally know what we're doing. We're pro podcasters. This is our 94th episode.
Woo!
Inching up to our 100 episode extravaganza.
That's exciting.
Which we still haven't talked about at
right?
all. We'll do something special. Have no idea what it'll be, but we'll do something special.
It will be there and it will be great. That's what it will be.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think of the episode?
I liked it a lot. I think I liked the last episode more. The last episodes have just been very solid. This is a solid episode. I just don't know if I liked it as much, but I was laughing. I love Sheldon in this episode. he made my day. So very enjoyable episode.
I really liked it too, and I really like it when they start mix matching characters. You know, it's like, because they're really turning into like an ensemble cast. They have the guys, and now they're bringing in the girls so much more often. And now it's kind of like how their storylines can kind of just cross over and blend together. So I really like that. So I really like the Amy and the Leonard part.
Yeah. Like you said, like they're trying to match up the characters more. So we have what I wasn't expecting, Amy hanging out with Penny and how that's progressing their characters. And now it's like, okay, what happens when Amy hangs out with Leonard and see their characters grow together too?
Yep. And I will say it was a little hard to watch the Howard and Bernadette stuff just because you're kind of always just wondering, it's like, why do you love him? Like, right? I don't get it.
And like, I'm getting the impression that she's a lot like his mom, but I don't think that's a healthy relationship. And I'm not exactly sold on why she wants to play that role, right?
Yeah. It's like, Bernadette, you could do so much better. Granted, I've mentioned this plenty of times, but eventually Howard will become my favorite character. So he does get better. So not to give you any spoilers or anything like that, but he does get better. And seeing Howard's like overall story arc from the beginning to like the end is pretty well done. But at this point in time, it's like, what the fuck? Like, how'd you get a quality girl like her?
And I feel like he's improved since the beginning, but I am curious of where he's going to go story-wise. I'm still not convinced they're going to get married. They're engaged, but you know, that's kind of the whole thing is, will it happen or won't it? And every episode gets closer. I'm like, maybe it will happen. I was so certain it wasn't going to happen. I really thought the season finale was going to end with them breaking up. It didn't. They're still together. So I'm like, maybe I'm wrong, but man, it's yeah.
All right. And again, for if you're just tuning in to us for the first time, Ryan has never seen this series at all, so we do this no spoilers. Ryan even doesn't really even get that far ahead in watching. He just watches it and does his notes and does the podcast, pretty much. You might watch like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, like sometimes up into the intro, like if it catches my attention, like, oh, what's this going on, right? But I try really hard to play it week by week so that I don't know what's going on during our podcasts.
That's awesome. It's
That's why I spent the
willpower,
last
but that
2 days, doing research on this one and outlining it because we just recorded a couple days ago to get caught up, and, Rob was like, "Are you gonna have time?" I'm like, "I'm gonna make it happen." I couldn't watch it beforehand, so
I can have it all.
I can have it all.
Well, all right. Well, before we dive in, we have a little bit of housekeeping. We have an email at theoreticalnonsencepod@gmail.com. We love interacting with everyone. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love 5-star reviews. So if you give us a 5-star review, we will give you a shout out.
Yeah.
We're also on YouTube at Theoretical Nonsense. That's it, at Theoretical Nonsense. Like and subscribe.
There you are.
All right. So I think that's it for housekeeping. So let's get started.
Alright. So we are on season 5, episode 3, the pulled growing extrapolation. Extrapolation. I mispronounced that. Like when I was googling this too, I'm like, "What is this word? I've never seen this word before."
It's
Um,
kind of like in How I Met Your Mother, like with Ted, he said that he never read the word chameleon, so he kept pronouncing it chameleon.
it's
I've
like
only read that word.
I think we've talked about macabre, right? Like how long I went in my life calling it macabre because it's like macabre, and it's like macabre. And I'm like, that's not what it says though. Chameleon. All right, so this aired September 29th, 2011. Directed by Mark Sandrowski, writers Bill Prady, Stephen Malaro, and David Ghosh. So we're mixing up the writers a little bit now, right? And for better or worse, I'm enjoying the episode. So awesome. So it starts off in the apartment, and the gang is all eating Thai food. Penny calls for the last dumpling, and the way I watched it was Leonard's kind of like somebody can have the last dumpling, and she called it. And Sheldon says the last piece is actually called the krengjai in Thai
Krengjai.
culture. How do you pronounce it?
Krengjai.
Krengjai. And so I did my first IQ point on this. Did you look into it?
I did.
You did? You want to take
Yeah.
over? I'm curious. I don't want to mess it up. So
Okay. All right. Well, this was actually really fun to look into because I always really enjoy the ones where Sheldon. Okay, I don't want to like outright say that Sheldon was wrong, but I don't think that Sheldon was correct with the interpretation. But
agreed.
I will get to that and the explanation. But
Yeah.
let's talk about like what krengjai actually is. I found this on multiple sites, Tizer.com, thethailife.com, and SeriousEats.com. So, krengjai is a verb that translates to, in quotes, of the heart, or differential heart. Looked at individually, the words translate as kreng, which means to fear something or to be afraid to act, and jai, which is something of the heart or mind. The concept of krengjai is one of being considerate and respectful. It shows one's reluctance to disturb, impose, or offend. It's a way of living that seeks to cause the least hassle for people, not to ask for unnecessary favors or to make people feel obliged to help you. So, an example of this is say I needed sugar. I could ask my neighbor, but that would create an inconvenience. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're busy. I don't know if I'm going to take them away from anything. So I wouldn't ask a neighbor. I would just go to the mall, or not the mall, the grocery store. So fancy sugar at the mall. I have to go there.
Or if the grocery store's at the mall, maybe it's one and the same. Who knows?
Bada bing, bada boom. But either way, I don't want to inconvenience my neighbor. So that's like the heart of krengjai. It's like, okay, I'm not going to inconvenience them. I'm going to go somewhere else. Another example that I found is say I am driving my car and it's a blazing heat outside. It's 100 degrees. And I see you, Ryan, walking
Hi.
along, going to work, and you're sweating your balls off.
I
So
would.
I pull over and I offer you a lift. But I offer you a lift knowing that it's going to give me a detour, say like an extra 10 minutes or whatever. So then I offer you, hey, I'll give you a lift. It's not a big deal. And krengjai out of you would be like, no, 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 it's okay, I don't want to take you out of the way. Like, it's a detour, you're going in the opposite direction. I'm not gonna, no, no. So then but then if I keep asking you, your obligation, I know you're not supposed to create an obligation out of krengjai, but your obligation in imposing krengjai to me is that you're supposed to deny it, pretty
Mhm.
much, at least a few times. So those are like the examples. You're not supposed to inconvenience somebody else. So many visitors of Thailand see this and take it as some sort of shyness or passivity, but it's really not. It's really just about showing respect to other people, to not inconvenience or oblige them. And it's funny because I actually see this all the time. I don't know if it's just because like I'm Asian too, and other Asian cultures do this, but I
Mhm.
get this all the time in my family. Like my direct family, my extended family, even my friends who are Asian too, where it's that up to you mentality. Like, hey, where do you want to eat? What's for dinner tonight? Up to you. What do you want to watch tonight? Up to you. It's because like it's the same thing. It's like, well, I don't want to inconvenience you. Like, it doesn't really matter to me, but it could matter to you. So I'll let you choose. But honestly, when everybody is like this, has that mentality, it's fucking maddening. Like, like help me choose a restaurant. That's all I want to do. Like, it's
Just
fucking
tell
maddening.
me! Inconvenience me, please!
Like, because I don't care either. So don't put the responsibility on me. And this is where I think Sheldon is misinterpreting what krengjai is. Or he's deliberately misinterpreting so he could take advantage of the situation. So in the research that I did, there was really nothing revolving around food. Like
Mhm.
nothing at all. Nothing about a morsel leaving left behind and protocols in the event of that moment, or just anything food related. So things did pop up with Google Copilot, but that's AI, so I don't really trust that.
Yeah.
And as I read it, I was actually drawing into this episode about it too. So it's like, okay, we can't, I can't use that as evidence. So I think that Sheldon interprets this as the last piece of food goes to the most valued member of the group, as in the most respected, because he reads it as like, oh, it's a respect for other people. But I think that he is interpreting as who's the most respected in the group. And that's the person who gets the last and final bite. So I think he's just kind of twisting it around just so he can get that last dumpling.
Yeah.
Did you find anything else?
Pretty much the same. I wanted to add a couple things, and that authority thing. One thing I saw was that it's often expressed as the emotion kids feel towards authority figures, like teachers, policemen, parents, and the notion of I don't want to burden my parents. I want to take care of this myself. If I ask my parents for help, I'm putting them out. Or like, at what point do you call the cops? Like saying it's an emergency. Yeah, that makes sense. But if something like there's a little fire. Should I call the fire department or should I just try to put it out myself? I don't want to inconvenience them and have, or the cat's stuck in the tree type thing. Like, you don't want to call the police because a cat's stuck in the tree, but so it's kind of that emotion, or at least that's what it seemed like in terms of how you feel towards authority. And like you said, I think he's twisting it to respect your authority and give them the food, which isn't exactly the thing. The other things I want to say was I was really confused because I had the subtitles on and they pronounce it as GRENGGIE. And if you look it up online, it's usually spelled krengjai, KRENGJAI. And so it could be spelled two different ways if anybody goes looking for it. That took me longer than I want to admit to figure out what the hell I was looking up. I'm like, maybe he was talking about something else. Nope, nope, it's just spelled two different ways. I was also going to say that a couple different things. One, that I see this and like I think it is a matter of respect and politeness. And the closest I can think of where I see it regularly is if somebody is going to pay for a meal and they say, I've got this covered. And it's usually like if you say, "Oh, that's great, thanks." Like that seems disrespectful, even though you're thanking them. Like it's protocol to say, "No, you can't do that. Let me cover it, or I can get my own." Like by
It's the check
expect,
dance.
yeah, the check dance and like trying to figure out who's paying how, what, when. It's a matter of respect, but it's also like you said, it's a little maddening. Like I don't know what to do. But I also read that this some claim that it can cause workplace inefficiency, which I think would make sense because if everybody's trying to do things themselves, even though they can't, it could cause some failure. And it also could break down communication that we're not corresponding fully and we're not getting things done as effectively and interacting as a team. So there were some criticisms on that. What was the other one? Oh, that it also could lead to lying because people could see it as disrespectful or they don't want to be disrespectful back. And so it's like, somebody asks you for a cup of sugar, or if they say, I'm out of sugar, I really need a cup of sugar. It's not directly asking. Like the other person doesn't want to be disrespectful back. So they might say, instead of saying like, "Oh, I have it, but I'm making a cake," they might say, "Oh, I'm out of sugar too," or something like that. Again, there's some communication issues because people don't want to be disrespectful, and for better or worse, I guess it's a trade-off. To be respectful, we might be disrespectful, or vice versa. And it reminded me, you mentioned other Asian cultures that in Japan, typically if somebody asks you to do something like would you like to go to the movies Friday, it's seen as, or at least where I was with the people I interacted with, saw that as disrespectful to say, "Oh, I can't," or "I don't want to," or "Nah, it doesn't sound fun, maybe next time." Instead they say, "Oh, I'm not sure, check later," or something like that. They're never like completely honest about it because they don't want to offend or disrespect. And there were times where like I was really confused. Like, if you don't want to come to the party, that's fine, but I keep checking with you and I don't know if I'm like irritating you by checking or if like you don't want to go or if you really want me to check back. And it's weird because there were times where they're like, "Oh yeah, I plan on coming," like after I checked again, but there are times too where like they kind of kept it up. I'm like, I think I'm bothering them, so I'm going to be respectful and stop asking and let them do their own thing. uh but yeah, I think you had the same examples that I was looking at too, and I agree that I think he is twisting it. But I would further say that according to this, his respect would probably be if you have a guest over and you're taking care of the guest, you should see it as respectful to make sure they're full, and that by being respectful, he would be offering it to her even if he was still hungry. That the protocol would be, "Oh, no, it's fine. You should have it," type thing, as opposed to saying, "I want it. I'm the one who should be respected." So that's kind of what I was saying, but he was twisting it. But yeah, I agree with you. That's not exactly what he was saying.
Yeah, and I actually did look into a little bit of dining etiquette
Ooh,
too on top of it.
yeah.
But honestly, like etiquette really just depends where you are and who you're with. It's kind of like you
Mhm,
said, Sheldon was hosting, so theoretically he should have been the proper host to just offer it for everyone. Because if you're a guest at someone's home, you're supposed to leave at least one morsel of food on the dish to let the host know that you've been well fed. If you clean up your plates, it means that you're still hungry and the host has failed.
dun, dun, dun.
Some countries in general have a similar rule of leaving the last piece behind, but it's more out of a consideration to others.
Mm,
It's just like krengjai. You're
mhm,
supposed to leave it out of respect to your fellow diners, as one of them might not have had enough to eat. It's often encouraged to offer the last bite to everyone at the table to show your thoughtfulness of others. So you're supposed to really ask before you take.
mhm.
So what we really learned is that they did not order enough food.
They did not.
Just
And who I'm
order another
guessing
round of
Penny isn't
dumplings.
paying either, so
Yeah, I don't think she's paid in a
Leonard.
long time. I don't know how she gets away with it. Okay, I know how she gets away with it, but
She gets away with it. I was gonna
but
say
that's
with the
Krengjai.
food etiquette too. Oh, what was it? Oh, it reminds me of I think I brought this up before, but since I love the scene, To Kill a Mockingbird, there's a scene in it where the family scout her father, what's her father's name? Atticus, right?
Mr. Scout.
Mr. Scout, her brother, and her live-in nanny or caretaker or whatever are having dinner, and they have a boy over. And I can't remember how he gets invited over, but he gets invited over. And I remember this is like one of the first times I learned what hookworm was because he was really thin and he worked on a pig farm and he didn't wear shoes. And it kind of indicated that he probably had hookworm, a parasite that ate his nutrients, causing him to be really thin. And he got it from walking around in pig manure. Maybe I'm making that part up. That's how I remember it. It's been a long time since I've read it. But anyways, he's at the house and he is just gobbling stuff up because he's so malnourished. And he asks for, I believe, molasses, and they're having dinner and they bring him molasses and he pours molasses on like everything. And Scout starts to say, "What the fuck are you doing?" type thing, right? That's dumb. Why are you pouring molasses on your steak or meatloaf or whatever they're having? And her live-in nanny caretaker like basically whacks her off the side of the head and is like, "Shut up. He's your guest. Let him do whatever he wants." And so it's kind of that same notion of you are hosting, let your guest eat all the molasses they want. So
Ain't nothing wrong with a little molasses on your steak. A
molasses, right?
little sweet with the salty.
Sweet, sweet and savory. Okay, so moving on, Penny just grabs and eats the dumpling. Doesn't even ask. He goes on this and made me laugh. And she thanks everyone for the high honor. So she sees herself as the respected one. Sheldon says he's seen pictures of her mother and tells her to keep eating. I'm like, wow, that was fucking
Burn.
bold. Like I know people would slap you for saying that about their mom and for
Yeah.
them. So careful, Sheldon. But I love that Penny kind of looks away and looks sad too. Like she's like, oh,
Her facial
she,
expression was such gold right there.
right? Like maybe I shouldn't eat that. Howard says that they are going to a movie, and I love Raj gets up with Bernadette, and Howard's like, "Honey means my fiance," and Raj whispers something, and Howard goes, it's basically like, "Yeah, I know, but it means her now." So apparently he's called Raj honey in the past for some reason. We don't know. Penny has to go to work, so she's dressed up and going to work. Sheldon asks for a ride to the new train store, and as they're leaving, he asks a riddle. What is a four-letter word that describes a printer's type size or compulsion to eat dirt? And did you know it off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head. Did you know off the top of your head?
I did.
Oh, really? So
It's
you'd be
terrible.
driving Sheldon.
Right? Oh shit. uh,
I don't know. Sorry.
the issue is it's not just a compulsion to eat dirt, so he's a little misled there. But the what's the word? Compulsion to eat non-edible things is called pica, and like it can be dirt or clay. Usually, that's a sign of some sort of nutrient deficiency. But I've heard of people like eating quarters and like just having a pack of quarters and like popping one in their mouth like Mentos. Uh, my cat eats plastic, and she like smells it out. Like I'll have it in a box and she'll open up the box. It'll be like a board game with like the lid halfway on and she'll knock the lid off, grab the plastic and go running. I'm like, "Why? It's plastic." But
Like
apparently
the
there's a thing,
plastic piece or like
the
the
bags,
bub.
mostly the bags.
Oh.
Like she wants that like Ziploc plastic is delicious to her. And she like growls too. She's like a little dog. She's like, "Grr," if you try to get it back. It's weird. I don't get cats. But yeah, so apparently there's a thing called cat pica, and we believe she has it. So we have to keep bags, plastic bags mostly, on like, but also like plastic like wrapping. So if there's a box that has plastic wrap, we have to put it in her pantry because she will tear out that plastic and get strips and try to eat them. And we think we need insurance for that cat. She's a ticking time bomb
Yeah.
at some point. But yeah, so Pica, it's not just dirt anymore. Penny says she's not driving him, and they
Oh, did you
leave.
do the other part?
Oh no, what
The
was it?
other half of that? So the other half of that is like, so it's One describes a printer's type size, and the other is
Right.
the compulsion to eat dirt. So the printer, I did that one too. But it's
I
funny because that was in reference to the printer. It's actually pronounced pica.
Pica.
Yeah.
That's I knew it had something to do with font size or typesetting, but I didn't know a whole lot about it. I knew more about and by all means, it might be called pica. We've learned today that I can't pronounce anything, so I've always
Maybe
called it
both of them are
pica.
pica. Yeah.
Pica, pica. I was
Well,
thinking
in
like
the printer
Pikachu.
world, one pica, Pikachu. I
Pikachu.
choose you.
I just-
One pica is 1/6 of an inch, or 4.233 millimeters, commonly used in typesetting and layout design. And one pica equals 12 points.
Hmm.
And then you pretty much covered the compulsion to eat things that don't. It's described as compulsion to eat things that have no nutritional value. And
Mhm.
there are some crazy examples. Do you want to go through some examples real quick?
Uh, all I know is about the quarters, the dirt, although I have heard it with paint as well. And I have actually I've never eaten paint, knock on wood, but like there are times where I see paint being poured. I'm like, I could see why people would think that was like a smoothie and want to drink
Oh, the
it.
moment I smell it, though, like it's like I know that's not edible.
Oh yeah, it doesn't smell edible. It's the texture and the consistency. It looks
Okay.
like thick eggnog, thick pink eggnog or something.
Eggnog. We were just talking
Eggnog.
about eggnog offline.
Stuck
Mm,
in my brain.
holiday seasons
What
coming around
other
the
examples
corner.
you got with it?
All right, I'll just name a few. Apparently, baby powder is on there.
Ooh.
Um, eggshells, hair, which I've seen on shoot. Well, there was a TV show like Strange Addictions.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've seen that episode. Ugh.
I don't know why that bothers me so much. For that one,
Yeah,
really, I'd rather drink a gallon of paint than eat like a handful of hair.
yeah, and pebbles and soap.
So I could see soap too. There's that scene in a Christmas Story where he gets his mouth rinsed out with soap, and he like has this huge bar of soap. Well, not just that, but Ren and Stimpy. Did you ever see Space Madness?
Probably. I
There,
know that. Is that the one where like Ren's the skinnier one, right?
yeah.
Where he gets in like a mind trance and he has to bash something with a hammer, like his own like head with a hammer or something like that. Am I thinking of a different episode? It's fucking weird.
I think
Ren and
that's a
Stimpy is
different.
weird.
It's a really weird show. I don't remember that episode fully, but I remember him having like a helmet on that was like a mind trance, and he was smashing it with a hammer.
Yes. Yeah,
I
I
do.
remember that. Yeah. But is that
The,
the episode that you're talking about?
I think
Or
it's a different one. This one, he's like
okay.
stuck in space with Stimpy, and he gets like cabin fever really bad. And I remember he like lashes out, and Stimpy's like, "It's gonna be okay. You just need to take a bath." And he puts him in the bathtub, and he's like, "Thank you, Stimpy. I don't know what's happening to me." And then like he's by himself, and his brain starts losing it again. And he's like, it's like starts thinking his ice or his bar of soap is an ice cream bar. And he's like, everybody's trying to steal my ice cream bar. I love my ice cream bar. And he just like goes, like right, a huge bite out of it. And then a huge bite. And then he starts like foaming at the mouth. He's like, I love my ice cream bar. And so, yeah, like there's been things where I'm like, maybe soap isn't so bad. So I could see that compulsion a little bit. My
It's so
ice cream
funny that I
bar.
forgot Ren and Stimpy was on Nickelodeon, and we were just having a conversation offline about a weird shows on Nickelodeon.
How
It's
did
supposed
these
to be for
get
kids,
made?
man.
I love them, but they are weird as hell.
I couldn't
Us
get into Ren and Stimpy. I couldn't.
remember there was an episode I was telling Kelsey about a few weeks ago where they save up all their money or something and they buy a casket. And the casket is fully loaded with like a refrigerator, ice maker, television, satellite. And they're like, we're just going to get buried and live in our casket for the rest of our lives. And they get buried and like, this is the life. And there's a knock at the door. and they go and open it. It's like a giant like lamprey or some sort of worm type thing. He's like, "Oh, I'm here to eat you." Like I was like the end of the episode, like
Oh god.
like nightmares. Okay, so Pica. Now I'm thinking of like a Pikachu being a ripoff of Pikachu, and it's like a Pikachu, but he wears a hat and like smokes a cigarette and like types on a typewriter. Pikachu. All right, so Penny says she's not driving him. They leave. Amy stays though, and apparently she's not interested in train stores, and she's okay there. Leonard tries to get rid of her, but it's clear she's lingering. Leonard gets has to get started in work, so he just starts working, and I like it ends with Amy saying she doesn't need his commentary as she's like sitting there reading, so she's definitely not taking a hint. We have the intro, and back at the apartment, Leonard is doing his work, and Amy's just like sitting there like in a trance, like staring at nothing. And apparently she's thinking about what she just got done reading, even though it looks like she's like, I don't know, losing it a little bit. Leonard keeps checking on her, and she mentions he seems uncomfortable. And she asks if she should go, and he wants to be polite. You know, it's that politeness thing again, like, no, no, it's fine. And she says she overstays her welcome sometimes. Recently, she did it at the gynecologist. Leonard says, tells her to stay as long as she would like. She says she's having a wonderful time, which is apparently the same thing she told her gynecologist. So I don't know what she was doing at the gynecologist to have that much of fun of a time, but I don't think most people would like that.
Not like
Yeah.
that at any doctor's office. It's like, time to
Yeah.
go. I
Whatever the
remember one
doctor's
time
doing.
I remember one time I was at the doctor and my wife came with me because I'm notoriously don't give a fuck.
Mm,
Like if the doctor says I'm fine, I'm fine.
yeah.
And my wife is always like, "Well, you can't just be 100% fine. There must be something.
Mhm.
Otherwise, why are you going to see that specialist?" So I'm going with you to ask questions. And the doctor is telling me things, and I'm just like staring off into space, like, uh-huh, okay, cool. And the doctor even comment, and my wife was just so engaging and so wonderful. She cares about me a little too much. That I'm just like, sure, okay, iron level, whatever.
Whatever.
And
Write it down.
even the doctor paused. It was like, and then he looked at my wife and was like, at least you and I are interested in this. So yeah, I should care a little bit more, but
Just like I don't know, I feel like with doctors, I mentioned things once like, uh, I have a little bit of heartburn. And they're like, oh, that's not a big deal. And like years later, they're like, you have excessive amounts of acid reflux. Why didn't you say that to anyone? I'm like, I said it once and nobody cared. So I stopped talking about it. I figured that was just that excruciating pain was something everybody went through.
I actually did tell you,
I did.
but
Uh,
nobody loves me.
Okay, so we are in the car now, and Bernadette asks what Sheldon is getting at the train store. And apparently, he's not buying anything. He's going for a lecture on HO gauge railroads. And I did not keep pointing on trains. I fucking love trains so much. Do you look into these too?
I did because
D-
I literally knew I'm not into trains. If you're a new listener, I've only recently found a somewhat appreciation to trains because of the Big Bang Theory and because Ryan hypes it up so much.
I'm pulling them in.
So I am interested in going on a train ride at some point, but it's not top 5. So chill out. Do you want to take this one since you're very passionate about trains? So I think you should take this
I'll
one.
take the lead on this one and see
Uh,
what you can back up with. So I got this mostly from rrmodelcraftsman.com, and I actually knew some of this, but I needed to double check some stuff and verify and got some specifics. And so there are 6 different main train sizes, train gauges. I think there's a couple other ones that aren't official and that aren't marketed, like, you know, micro machines. If anything, micro machines would be like a Z, but there there's some weird trains out there too that don't really qualify. But these are the main ones: GOSHO N, and Z. And G, they're way too big for me, but I think they might be my favorites. They are 1/25th the size of a train, 1/125th or 1/25. They are 1.75 inches big, apparently. They are made by Lehman Big Trains. They started getting made by Lehman Big Trains, a German company in 1960s. They are large and durable and rugged, which is why they usually get used outdoors. And the G is for garden trains. And the reason I love them is because you can see like people like attach cameras to theirs and have them in their backyards going. And I think I might have mentioned that I watched one video where a guy had a camera and he had a snowplow on his, and it was plowing the tracks in his backyard. And I'm just like, I love it. It's so stupid. It's not stupid, but it's 30 minutes of watching a train plow tracks on like this micro. I loved it. It made me happy. So G are like the big ones, but they're usually used outdoors because they are so big. O are 1/48th the size, 1.25 inches. They are originally made by Lionel starting around 1915, and they grew for decades to come. There are some differences and thoughts on when exactly they started getting made and when they started getting sold, but around 1950 is like the year usually associated with it. And I didn't see anything about this, but I always think of O as original because it seemed like this was the original electric train size. And it became the most popular size, and it also the tracks, one way to tell that it's an O is that the tracks have 3 rails. And so basically they have the 2 outer rails and a middle rail to help supply electricity and power. And apparently the third rail helps for complicated layouts without complicated wiring. So something about the third rail is helpful for how they're set up. S gauge are 1 out of 64. They are 0.875 inches. They were popularized by American flyer trains around the 1930s. They were made because they wanted a smaller version. I guess I think a smaller than the O version. And part of this is that, this goes with the HO trains as well, but basically people don't have a whole lot of space to set these up. So they started realizing that if they make smaller trains, people can buy them and get invested in the hobby without taking up as much space. The problem is that some of the smaller trains, the initial manufacturing wasn't as good or detailed. And so it took some years to like build into the detail. But the S trains ran on a more realistic 2-rail track as opposed to the 3-rail track. They were smaller, and problem with them is they weren't as popular as the O. So there were somewhat limited selections for trains and accessories. However, there's a group of enthusiasts out there who basically make their own accessories for it, and it's really a DIY type. Like you go in knowing you're going to be making stuff yourself if you're dedicated to that size. HO, which is what Sheldon's going to hear the lecture on, is 1 out of 87, and it's 0.625 inches. HO stands for half the size of the O gauge. So it's half the size. Again, smaller. And what do I have here? Its first appearance was in Europe, but it started gaining traction in the US in the mid 1930s, again, around the same time as the smaller the S size. But this became more standard, I suppose. It became popular because manufacturing became better and it allowed more detail for that smaller size at this time, more detailed than it seems like the S, and became more popular and stable, and more accessories were available. Also popular because I don't know, the website said in the 40s people started moving to smaller homes and apartments, and I don't know what houses they had before that were bigger, but it seems like living spaces were smaller. People were realizing that they were smaller, and again, to get people invested they needed smaller sizes of trains. And again, this one has the widest variety. That's not right, widest variety of accessories from many different manufacturers. So this is a good gauge to go in with if you're getting started because there's so many options and it's a smaller size, so it's a little bit easier to deal with and doesn't take up as much room. Then we have the N size, and this is 1 out of 160 the size. It's 0.375 inches, and it gets its name or the gauge N from being 9 millimeters. And basically, it refers to the 9 millimeters between its rails. So it's even smaller than the HO. And I don't even know how 9 millimeters became the thing, but it was first produced in Germany in 1962 and came to the US in 1967. Again, because it was so small, the early efforts and early versions were pretty crude and lacking of details. And apparently, over time, they were able to improve those so it doesn't look as bad, but not quite as popular as the HO because it took so long to get into the details and uh, looking as good in terms of scale, I guess. And again, because they were trying to make these smaller to save space, it became desirable to allow for larger sceneries and people to not just have trains, but to work on the sceneries. You know, it's one thing to have room for the train tracks, but if you want like a little village and little people, that takes up even more room. Today, it's apparently second in popularity to H. So HO is popular, but H is the most popular. And then uh, I'm sorry, HO is the most popular. There we go. And then N, and then probably O. And then the final size is Z. And this is ratio of 1 to 220, and it's 0.25 inches, made by the German toy company Marklin in 1972. And they used the letter Z to be the last letter of the alphabet and kind of be the finality and small train, saying this is the smallest they will be. It was first assumed to be like a fad novelty, like, oh, they're cute little trains, but they're not taken seriously by train enthusiasts. But over time, again, that manufacturing has improved and it's gained a following. But they are still like, when I look at these, I think of those old toys micro machines, like they are extra small and so small that I was surprised that like some of them even had electricity to them. So they, yeah, I guess they aren't super popular, but they are really adorable for what it's worth. But again, I love the G trains. I would never have room or space to do that, and it takes a lot of time and money. But I love watching the videos of these large model trains in backyards zooming around. But again, the HO, as we're going to find out, Sheldon finds why they're popular too. So, anything to add to that?
Yeah, for Sheldon, it's O gauge or no gauge.
O gauge or no gauge?
Yeah, that was very comprehensive. You pretty much got it, but yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying is what I found too. The different sizes, there's 6 different sizes. O and HO are generally the more popular ones, but you said that HO is kind of like leaning more towards the popular side.
Mhm.
And it totally makes sense because they're actually smaller. And it's because I looked into this as well, where it's like it's the most popular because of its size. People are kind of just, for anybody who's just diving into it, HO is recommended like the starting point
Mhm.
because it's not a huge investment. Like
Yeah.
as you get larger to like O and G, like they're large enough that it's going to take, you're going to need an entire room to like build like your set with the backgrounds and the trees and everything like that. But with
Yeah.
HO, it's just small enough where it could be almost tabletop. And
Mhm.
then it's large enough where you could still get quite a bit of detail on all the trains and the backgrounds and the trees and the landscape and things like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of all I have. So,
I think most of mine have been HO. I've had some electric trains in the past. I think I've given them all away or sold them because I never had time or money as a kid. Like I didn't have money to invest in a train hobby, but I got like a set for Christmas and a few extra tracks and played with it a little bit, but didn't have time to really go into it further. But most of what I had was the HO, although I think I did have some O. I think I had a bigger track and played with that a little bit, but most of my stuff was HO.
and one thing to keep in mind for anybody that actually does want to start this hobby, um, I would say maybe pick a lane and just kind of go with it because
Mm,
these different sizes are significant. It doesn't seem like it's a huge difference, but like it's big enough where they're not compatible. Like
yeah.
so if you start diving into HO and then you move on to O, it's not going to mesh. It's not going to
Yeah.
vibe. the scaling is going to be so far off that it's like, well, I need 2 different rooms now because I love trains.
There was this game. Did you ever play Sega CD?
Is that the name of the game?
It was a video game system.
It was called Sega CD. Is that before or after the Genesis and
So,
Saturn?
between Genesis and Saturn, it was an attachment for the Sega Genesis.
Okay, I did not. I just dove. I was always jealous of the people that had a Genesis, and then I just dove into Saturn.
So they had, what was it? They had the Sega Genesis and they made the Sega CD as an attachment. And I don't really get it because I think it was still 16-bit, but it played CD-ROMs, and so you got more of the computer games, the point and clickers, and the ones with videos and movies and stuff. They were still pretty crappy graphics. And then they made the 32X, which was like, it looked like a cartridge that you would put into your Sega Genesis, and then you'd put the games into that. So it was like almost like a game genie that you'd put in and then put something in that. And I knew people had like all three, and then they got the Saturn too, which was 32-bit, but Sega CD was horrible. I got it thinking it was going to be amazing. Like, I'd say 70% of the time games would just freeze up or glitch. They took forever to load. Sometimes they wouldn't even get by the loading screen. They were horrible with taking buttons like input. And so it came with a game called Sewer Shark. And it was like every time I played, I just died within like the first 30 seconds because it's like go left and I'd push left and it wouldn't read it. And then I died. I'm like, this is a horrible fucking game. But there was a game called Willie Beamish, and it was about a boy who is trying to get through his summer and win a video game championship. And years later, I tried to play this from start to finish, but again, the whole thing was glitchy. And there was a certain point, in fact, everybody knows, like online, I looked it up. There's a point in the game that most likely you can't get past because there's a glitch that will just freeze up no matter how many times you play or save it. So, anyways, I that was something too because it was CD-ROM. They didn't really have memory cards, and so like half the time I would lose my saves. There was supposed to be a RAM in it, but the RAM didn't work very well. Anyways, you're like this cartoon character boy, and you go home from school the last day of school, and it's your summer break, and you go up into your attic, and your grandpa's there, and he's dead, and he's like a ghost, and he's running trains in the attic, and like the whole thing is you playing with these trains. Like, just like, why is it even in there? Like, it's not part of the story. But I think like the fun thing was that I could always make them crash, and like your grandpa would get pissed off at you, like like model trains. But anyways, it took up the whole attic, and that always taught me like, if you're gonna go with this, it's gonna take up a lot of space, and you have to stay with one, or the scale's gonna be off, and it's gonna look really weird. So if Sega CD taught me one thing, it was about model trains. That
So
was
let
around the
this be a learning lesson.
time too where technically the Sony PlayStation was supposed to be an add-on like that for the Super Nintendo. And the Super Nintendo was like supposed to go on top of it. And there's like a couple prototypes out there. And yeah, they were designing, I think Secret of Mana was supposed to be for it, a couple different things. But apparently Nintendo like had a secret contract, I want to say with Panasonic. I'd have to look into this, and backstabbed Sony and like didn't let them know until like a big expo. Like, it wasn't E3, but it was something like E3, and it came out that they had totally ditched Sony without telling them. And so Sony had this like add-on prototype, and they're like, what are we even doing? Like, it was supposed to be really, really awkward. And then Sony's like, fuck it, let's make our own system. And that's how PlayStation came to be.
And it worked out really well for them.
Right? Bad for Nintendo because they just like gave the keys to the kingdom to a hefty opponent. So, all right. Anything else about trains?
Nope, that's
Nope.
all I got.
All right. So, Howard mocks the trains to Bernadette. She says, Howard, it's bold of you to mock him when you have a closet full of magic tricks at your mother's house. I love his response. He goes, they're not tricks, they're illusions. And plus, when they get married, they're going into the attic, like in that video game with the trains with the dead grandpa. And she's going to have a place for her clothes when she moves in. And it kind of she realizes he plans on me moving in. We haven't even talked about this. And yeah, she's confused that he expects her to live with his mother. And she basically breaks down saying, "I'm not going to live with your mom." And it's his response to say, "It sounds like you have mommy issues." And that's when she says, "Stop the car. I want to go home." So they're getting into a fight over this, even though, yeah, he's the one with mommy issues. Although I think she might too, a little bit, a little bit, as we see. Sheldon offers a solution. Take him to the train store, then they can do whatever they want. So he just cares about Sheldon. Back at the apartment, Leonard's getting out of the shower and Amy's still just sitting there. He asks when she goes to bed, and she goes, "I'm up all night. I'm like a possum." And she's apparently got it in his yearbook somewhere and is looking through it and mentions that he's not wasn't very popular in high school. And somebody wrote that he was really good at science. Maybe someday he'll come up with a cure for being a dork. And he mentions, yeah, it wasn't spray painting or painting a lightning flash on my briefcase for sure. Amy says that's better than her yearbook and that her yearbook had one signature and it said, "Self respect and a hymen are better than friends and fun. Love, Mom." So her mom wasn't very nice to her either, but the only signature she has in her yearbook. I like this too because it's kind of her episode for like high school throwback a little bit. We start talking about prom a little bit here in a little bit. Sheldon storms in or comes in and he says, "Jerry's Junction is a train store he'll never set foot in again. The lecture was really just a attempt to force the weak-minded into buying HO starter kits." And Leonard asks, "What's in his bag?" Sheldon doesn't want to talk about it. So he was the weak-minded who forced into buying a track or the HO track starter set. And I give myself a point for being like Sheldon here because I would probably be suckered into it as well. I mean, it probably wouldn't take that much to get me buying a train set anyways. I would be suckered into buying a train set. But absolutely, I would come home with it because I love trains. And even if, yeah. So he says, "What's in the bag?" And Sheldon's other response is, "I can tell you it's not a spine." So he admits that he's weak a little bit there. Amy says she's had a fun evening, but needs to be leaving. Leonard says we should do this again, and Amy suggests accompanying her to Dr. Marinelli and Dr. Gustafsson on Friday. Their wedding on Friday. They are apparently the Brad and Angelina of the primatology department. And Sheldon's apparently not invited because at the last wedding, he acted like a child. I like this because as she's talking about it, he's starting to play with his train set. And he says that at the wedding, she told him there would be other scientists his age. So I don't know what he did or what went on, but he did not feel like there were other people his age, and apparently he acted like a child for some reason. Amy says Sheldon's out, Leonard's in. She had no date to prom, but 2 dates to a wedding. How times have changed. So again, she's getting to her makeup for those proms she didn't get to go to in the high school life a little bit. She leaves. Sheldon mocks Leonard for having to go to a wedding. So she has 2 dates, but neither of them really want to go, but she's happy about it. Now we're at Howard's house. Bernadette is visiting. There's a little interaction between Howard yelling at his mom back and forth. And Bernadette and Howard start making up a little bit. Howard has a good idea to do a trial run. She can stay over for the weekend and see what it's like. She says, "Won't your mom care?" He asks his mom. Her response is, if Bernadette is willing to give the milk away for free, who is she to say no? So really tacky way of saying that Bernadette's putting out without any, attachments, I guess, or getting anything in return. Back at the apartment, Sheldon is playing with his train. I love that. He is definitely so childish with it, but I love it because I would be the same way. He admits to being wrong. The tinier the train, the more concentrated the fun. He looks so happy with it. Penny is making up Amy. She's putting makeup on Amy. Penny asks if she can explain why a grown genius likes playing with trains. Amy can't do it without cutting Sheldon's head open, though. Leonard comes out in a tux, and Penny says he looks like James Bond. Sheldon says, like Bond, but better because he's tinier, and everything tinier is better.
He's really
Amy,
embracing the HO.
Right. I love it. It's wonderful. Amy gives him a corsage saying, "I got you this corsage to give to me." And Penny points out that weddings guests don't usually wear corsages. That's mostly a prom thing. But Amy didn't go to prom. The closest she got was when her mom paid her cousin to take her, but he used the money on drugs. So Penny says, put the corsage on her. And there's kind of this awkward attempt where he starts pinning. And my understanding is he probably did that because for proms, guys have boutonnieres. And you pin the boutonniere to, is it the lapel or the, it's not the
Is
lapel.
that fold on your
Yeah.
jacket? Is that
Yeah,
a
that's
lapel?
lapel. Things on the shoulder are epaulets, and I always get those two things confused. I don't know why.
Hey, we did an IQ point on epaulets.
Right? Yeah, and I still get them confused. He did. Stylish. And so, anyways, he tries pinning it on her, and they point out that it goes on her wrist. So he puts it on her wrist. Sheldon shoots all aboard. Woo woo! In the background, it's official. He's an HO trainiac. Trainiac. At Howard's house, he's talking to Bernadette. Dinner went nice, apparently. Bernadette asks if his mom always cuts his meat for him. And he says, only when it's fatty. And when you're here, someday you'll cut it for me. So, very, very attractive there, Howard. Howard's mom yells if they want to use the water pick. She found an additional attachment. Bernadette says she's good. Howard yells that they want some privacy. And his mom yells back, I know what that means. Haba haba. So she's really chiming in on knowing they're going to get it on, or maybe not, because Bernadette does not seem in the mood at all at this point. Then she says, "Tell me when you're done with the hubba hubba." She needs her foot rubbed, so the mom doesn't care that they're going to sleep together. Just rub her feet afterwards, which really grosses me out for so many reasons. But funny. At the wedding, Leonard and Amy are just sitting at a table, and Leonard is completely distracted. He's kind of in his own world, and she's kind of dancing in her chair back and forth. She asks him to dance, but he says that he's not really a dancer. She mentions that he's not really winning with the conversation either. He apologizes and mentions that the bride and groom seem happy. Amy says, why wouldn't they be? They have this fun filled night of sex ahead of them. And she mentions that in some cultures, the guests would stand outside their room cheering them on as they achieved orgasm. And this is my third IQ point. Did you look into this one?
I did.
You want to take this one since I went overboard with the trains?
Oh,
Trains!
yeah. Trains. Well,
Trains.
I get to talk about sex now.
Sex. Sex
So,
and
in
trains.
your face.
This is a damn
Best
good episode.
best episode ever. We talk about trains and sex. Sex in the trains.
Sex and trains, on trains, under trains, wherever.
And train sex.
Train sex.
Well, I'm not entirely sure which culture Amy is referring to, unless she's speaking about the past. Because based off how she worded it, she made it seem like it's still an ongoing thing. But I think she is referring to the bedding ceremony. I take it that's what you looked into as well?
I did, and I found an interesting blog that says that the bedding ceremony might be coming back. So I want to hear what you say.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
dun dun
I'm very interested in your part. But
dun.
I'll go into a little bit of what the bedding ceremony is. But these are no longer publicly practiced, at least according to the sites that I found. Um, otherwise, I was going to say, unless she knows very small groups in the world that still do it like more discreetly.
Mm.
But otherwise, the world doesn't really do this. At least that's what I saw. But if someone knows, email us. But Ryan has some information on this. But bedding ceremonies were once very real customs in weddings across Europe and beyond in the medieval era. It involves the symbolic escorting of the newlyweds to their marriage bed by friends and family, signifying the community's endorsement of the union. Each country had its own variation of the bedding ceremony, but the core reasoning was the same. It was to legitimize and witness the union. It acted as public validation of the marriage. Fertility wishes, symbolically, the community's involvement was a blessing for the community's future fertility and social bonding. The ceremony was to strengthen the bonds within the community and between families. So, some countries, especially in Europe, were as Amy described. They're a little bit more wild. They contained a lot of bawdy songs and jokes for the occasion. And if there are any Game of Thrones fans out there, in season 3, The Red Wedding, where Edmure marries Rosalind Frey, not the red part of the Red Wedding, but the
I was
part
gonna
that
say
happened.
that was a different ceremony.
Yes. Before the redness happened, Edmure and Rosalind were carried away into the bedroom. Amy might be thinking of 16th century Germany, where they played loud music using pipes and drums, and they would make obscene noises. And then, when the couple is left alone, the group would continue to party loudly so the newlyweds couldn't be heard. But for the most part, these were more pure ceremonies. Like, generally, a priest would bless the bed before the couple would hop into it, or the bride and groom would lay in different beds and the families would push them together as a symbol of their union. In some Asian cultures, post wedding rituals involved the couple's new sleeping arrangements with blessings and symbolic gifts exchanged. In Africa, African tribes would hold ceremonies where the couple's bedding is prepared by the elder women, incorporating herbal blessings for fertility and prosperity. But generally, the sex act itself would be in private. That's what I had, so I'm very interested in how this is making a comeback.
Yeah, I think you're right on about this, that a lot of it seems to be, one, it was seen as the binding contract, and people needed to know what happened to know the wedding was official. And it kind of died out because when legal documents started coming out and getting signed and people being able to read and sign those, it's like, we don't need to see people have sex because we have this documentation to know. But like you said, like, it seems more like there was more modesty to it. It wasn't like everybody like watching and kind of like touching themselves like an orgy type thing.
Yeah.
It was like they kind of cheered them on. They knew what was going on in the other room, but one of them said, what was it? In Germany, they played music really loud to kind of cover it up to offer some privacy, but they knew what was going on. And Scandinavia and the Netherlands, the husband and wife were stripped down naked in separate rooms and carried naked to the bed. And then the bed drapes were closed so that they had the privacy of being in the bed curtains, and like people weren't actually watching them, right? In England, the newlyweds, like you said, a priest or a bishop like blessed them. And apparently like people were like around making jokes and like egging them on and getting drunk with them. And it said that oftentimes they would drink benediction posset, a wine, to celebrate this. And I forgot to say that I got this mostly from Jessica Levy's blog, Sex at the Wedding, Our Public Consummation and Bedding Ceremonies Making a Comeback. But she had a recipe for this benediction posset, if that's how you pronounce it, since I can't pronounce stuff, which calls for like the wine, a type of wine, sugar, eggs, cream, and nutmeg and cinnamon. So it seems kind of like a mulled, creamy wine. That sounded kind of good, but specifically for this. And she
Sounds
says
a little
that
eggnoggy.
eggnog here, right? Nog, nog, nog. Paint. Dude, you drinking paint. Reminds me of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Doesn't Charlie Day always, like, every now and then he has like a thing of paint, he's like drinking it?
Oh my god.
Like, Charlie, that's paint. No, it's good. It's fine. It's like it's the St. Patrick's Day episode, I believe. He's like drinking a thing of paint. He's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm like, no, that's toxic. So, anyways, in England, it was also custom to throw stockings at the couple, And if you were able to get your stocking on the couple, it was good luck and kind of showed that you were probably going to get married next, which is kind of probably where throwing the bouquet and throwing the garter toss or having the garter toss came from, something to do with the stocking and throwing it and good luck and celebration, whatnot. Then after that, the group would typically leave the couple to let them commit the act in the bed alone. So again, not like a porno or an orgy where everybody's watching, but everybody knows what was going on. But again, in this blog, it had some research from different Reddit sections and online stuff that kind of pulled in. And one of the reports was a guy saying that her fiance had a tradition in her family where the newlyweds would stay at the parents' house and get the master bedroom. And the parents would wait outside the room and cheer and holler at them. And then the sheets would get used in a tapestry, part of a larger tapestry for the family. And I've actually heard of people keeping sheets like that before from different people. I've never like known people to do it, but I've heard here and there that either the sheets you lose your virginity on or the sheets that you get married on are supposed to be kept for some reason. Not something that I really understand, but it's again completely different than the whole family watching you have your sex for the first time. What else about that? So yeah, he was kind of audited out by that, but it's apparently not too atypical. There was something I was going to say about that. Oh well. Then there was somebody talking about an experience, and she wasn't sure if it was just a Muslim experience or not. But she mentioned that her parents and her sister's in-laws stood outside the bedroom hollering at them when her sister got married, and she thought that was kind of different or odd, and didn't know what culture it was. But there was also this notion of recent Norse pagan, what's called hand fasting. And this is where, kind of like the German tradition, where people leave and then there's music and party and then they come back later. The couple leaves, consummates the marriage during the party while everyone waits. Then they come back and they get cheered on, and there's like some letting the guardians go, dismissing the guardians and thanking the deities for watching over them. And I have to say that this strikes home when I first got married. I'm divorced now, but when I first got married, we had the ceremony at a church, and then we had the reception at a country club, small country club in the city nearby that was probably 20 to 30 minutes away. And my ex and I drove ourselves because we took some pictures afterwards when we were going to meet people at the reception. And we stopped back by our Airbnb, and she redid her makeup. And I think I fell asleep for a little bit while she was redoing her makeup, but she wanted to look pretty again for the reception photos. And when we got to the reception, everybody thought we had just consummated the marriage. And I can tell you, they weren't happy. They were like, "You wasted our fucking time. Like, we've been waiting an hour for you." And I'm like, "Don't look at me." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." I'm like, "She was doing her makeup." And they're like, "No, yeah, we know what you did." I'm like, "But really?" So, anyways, that was funny too because I remember stopping at a gas station, and I was in my tux and she was in the wedding dress, and we got like a Red Bull or something, and the guy's like, "You just got married," and we're like, "Yeah." He goes, "Just take it. It's on the house." It's
Aw,
like,
that's
oh.
nice.
So, anyways, I do think that there is still some mentality to this. It's just probably not practiced as much, and yeah, it's kind of suggested too that we'll probably see traditions like this take place a little bit more, but due to anxiety issues, everybody's going to have to be comfortable with it, and it might not necessarily be standing by the bedroom, definitely not watching, but there are some jokes to be made about this, and we can see it in the garter toss that are continuing on. Yeah, I think that's all I had for it.
Oh, so it's not necessarily coming back in the sense of like we're going to be standing outside your, but there are other traditions that kind of symbolize it.
Symbolize
Are
it, or different people, different cultures, family cultures even know that's happening and still jeer people on, saying, "We know what's happening tonight, you going to bed," stuff like that. That is kind of either still alive and well, or it's making more of a comeback. But I don't think we're going to strip people down and throw them in bed and drink wine with them naked in bed. Like, I don't think that's coming back. But there are still
pulling out our
some,
cameras.
yeah. Say hi to TikTok.
It's for the wedding book.
It's for the wedding book. You're logged into Pornhub. No.
No, I'm not.
Congratulations, gotta go. So yeah, anything else
Yeah.
about wedding sex?
Nope, that's
No.
all we got.
Okay, so done talking about wedding sex and people watching their kids have wedding sex. Or actually, it probably didn't happen like that, but yeah, close enough. So, anyways, Leonard says that sounds like a late night and that he has to get home because he has work in the morning. Amy says he's not being fun. She kind of criticizes him, and the truth comes out. He apologizes, but the wedding reminds him that his girlfriend is 9,000 miles away and that he's kind of depressed because of it. Amy says she's not bitching about her kind of sort of boyfriend playing with a toy train. I do like that she admits that he's kind of sort of a boyfriend, if he likes it or not. Uh, and we're going to see something later that kind of cements that as well, that they are in a relationship. And she doesn't exactly like the toy train, but she's not bitching about it, right? She says moody self obsession is only attractive in men who can play guitar and are taller than Leonard. And so he's got nothing going on for him. He can't be moody. He says he's not moody, he's fun, but there's no evidence to say that he is fun. She asks if he's willing to draw a mustache on his finger and as a conversational icebreaker because she is. She lifts her finger up and she has a mustache on her finger, which I guess is a conversational starter. And she smiles and laughs and she suggests that they dance. He says he's not a good dancer. She says, "Don't worry, I will lead." And they get up and she doesn't even need to. It's the chicken dance. And it looks like he's starting to have some fun. Back at Howard's house, he's playing with a lightsaber in the bedroom. And Bernadette comes in. She needs to brush her teeth, but his mom has been in the bathroom for an hour. He yells at his mom to give up. Tonight's not her night. And he says that technically Bernadette can just go in and brush her teeth. It's not embarrassing. She's just in there reading a magazine or something. Bernadette will not do that. It's not going
So
to happen.
gross. So
Right?
gross.
Somebody's trying to take a shit and just go in and
uh, we're
even if
not
it
that
is
close.
family. Yeah. You have to be pretty close for that, and it's still
And
not.
Howard and his mom are.
It's terrifying. He shouts or his mom shouts, "The eagle has landed," and then there's the toilet flushing. He says he's going to go light a candle for Bernadette, then they can make passionate love. Which, if she puts out after that, she is poor Bernadette. That's not
She's a
romantic.
trooper.
She's a trooper. Back at the apartment, we see Amy and Leonard are climbing the stairs. She's helping him, and he's kind of hurt, it looks like. Apparently, he was doing the hokey pokey, and something snapped. But he had a great time. He thanks her for reminding him that it's okay to have fun sometimes, even though his girlfriend is 9,000 miles away. He also thanks her for breaking the head off the ice swan so he could put it on his Groin. He invites her in for tea, and she says she will head home, and he kisses her on the cheek. It's very cute, very sweet. He closes the door, and she like skippers over to Penny's place, right? Very quickly. And she says that she's made Leonard fall in love with her. Penny asks if Leonard made a move, kind of like that bastard, right? She says no, but it's only a matter of time. How could she not see this coming with her posture, right? Yeah. Penny says he'll be okay. Penny offers to talk to Leonard for her, but no, Amy will send him an email in the morning to let him down gently. She also
I
says,
do love her description of herself, how she's like, I'm the perfect combination of Madonna and whore.
and whore. And she mentions that Penny has a better shot than Leonard and like kind of looks at Penny and then puts the mustache finger up. So I don't think
Yeah,
she would say no to Penny if it came
she's
up.
she's very thirsty, and
Y-
she is a little obsessed with Penny.
yeah. It's
And I
like,
will say this isn't an IQ point but anybody that is interested. Amy does say like, "Oh, Penny, much as I would treasure knowing that the two of us have been defiled by the same man, Leonard just doesn't get my motor running." But if they were, if Leonard did defile her,
mm,
Then Penny and Amy would become Eskimo sisters,
Eskimo sisters. There you go.
or lumberjack sisters, or tunnel buddies,
I've
or
never heard that
apparently
one.
I haven't either, or pogo sisters
Pogo sisters.
because they ride the same pogo stick.
Oh.
Oh.
I
And that's the terminology.
was gonna say I once had a situation kind of like this where Kelsey had a friend over, like they had spent the day together, and her friend lived like south uh a few hours south, so she was staying the night and leaving in the morning. And I had a guest room set up, and we had a guest room set up, and Kelsey's like, I'm sleepy, I'm falling asleep during the movie, and I'm like, do you want to watch something? And it was clear that she felt awkward, like kind of like Amy did here, and like skimpered and like, nope, gotta go to bed. I'm like, I wasn't hitting on you. Like, I'm staying up a little bit longer. If you want to watch something, we can watch something you want to watch. But afterwards, I'm like, Kelsey, I think she was weirded out by that, but I like doesn't get my motor running. I'm like, whatever. So sometimes people get bad, different signs or signals, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Were you sending out the vibes?
I don't think so. I think I was in pajamas, like
Oh, so
drinking
you
beer.
were.
I was.
Oh, you definitely were. You were exuding let's have sex.
I was also kind of rubbing my nipples while I want to watch something.
Watching Battlestar Galactica. Yeah.
Yo, yeah. More Battlestar for me then. But all right, so we are in the apartment. It's a little bit later. Leonard is pouring tea, and Sheldon comes out. He's bought an N-gauge locomotive now, half the size of HO, and it fits in his mouth, and he shoves it in his mouth for some reason. And I giving myself another point for being like, Sheldon, just his passion for trains in this episode, I could see myself being just as passionate, if not for trains, something else, and maybe not putting it in my mouth for trains and hobbies. But his excitement is something I totally feel. And so, yeah, it fits in my mouth. And he kind of spits it out. Leonard says he had more fun than he thought at the wedding, and then Sheldon hits him and sends him a message. Amy is not for him. Amy is not for Leonard, and walks away. So again, we get that little notion that he's a kind of sort of boyfriend, but if he wants to admit it or not, he's feeling it. He's like, she's not for you, which I don't know that means to him. Back at
He's
Howard's
jealous.
house. What was it?
Ultimately, he's just jealous.
He's jealous, right? He would never admit that, but he is jealous. Howard's house, Bernadette brings Howard breakfast in bed, says that her and his mom made him breakfast. First of all, when he's waking up, he calls her mom, which is kind of creepy, but it's Bernadette. And apparently Bernadette says, me and your mom are very different people. We're going to have to work on our communication. And then they start screaming at each other, and they sound very, very similar. The mom says, how does he like the pancakes? And then she screams back, he wants butter. And then she says, the syrup is butter flavored. And Bernadette screams back, I just told him that. So they are more alike than Bernadette admits. And so it's kind of creepy, but at least I can see why Howard's so interested in her. And I guess why she's like, it's, again, a little bit of mommy issues for everyone involved. It seems like Howard looks a little bit dismayed and says he doesn't need butter. I'm like, I don't need butter. Bernadette leaves to get him butter. When she's gone, he says, he kind of thinks to himself, who's going to cut my pancakes? So it's not just fatty steak, it's his pancakes too that he's not used to cutting for himself. And that's the end. We are on the vanity card now, so you lucked out, but I get a long one. Chuck Lorre Productions 353. I have long believed that we as human beings are genetically inclined to elevate and worship those of us we deem to be very beautiful and very talented. We do this because we are somehow comforted by our adoration. It makes us feel good. As children, we sleep beneath the images of movie, TV, music, and sports stars and dream about the mystery and grandeur of their lives. As adults, the posters come off the wall, only to be replaced by a steady, noxious stream of tabloid culture. but perhaps most enjoyable of all is watching the fall from grace. Nothing beats a good old public crucifixion, especially when it's self inflicted. My theory for why this is considered entertainment is, again, a genetic one. DNA, even if it's mediocre, wants to ensure its own survival. The existence of superior DNA is viewed as a threat. When beautiful and talented people screw up, we can't help but feel that this is somehow improves the chances for our mediocre descendants to eat meat. In other words, evolution my ass. The end.
Did something happen in 2011, like a celebrity like scandal or something like that?
Not that I know of. Was it Britney Spears having her meltdowns? Let me see. 2011 celebrity scandals. Dun, dun, dun. Uh, Charlie Sheen on Two and a Half Men is the thing that comes up first.
Oh, because Chuck Lorre did create Two and a Half Men.
I'm guessing not what he was talking about, huh? I guess. Oh, poor Chuck. First his marriage implodes, and then Two and a Half Men, Charlie Sheen.
Was that when he left the show?
I think so. Yeah, Meltdown and Firing. Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore split. Arnold Schwarzenegger had an affair and a divorce, it says. Mel Gibson had some issues going on from 2010. Oh, there was some celebrity phone hacking where nudes were released from Scarlett Johansson, Blake Lively, and Mila Kunis's phones. It seems like private accounts. Yeah, but yeah, it's probably Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, that makes the most sense because I'm sure they didn't get along very well.
Yeah. Alright, so adding up some points. Sheldon had 2 points this episode, none on the other side, so we are up from 135, not like Sheldon, to 134 like Sheldon. He's doing good this season on the point system.
Yeah, because you went up and Sheldon side last episode too.
Yep. In fact, I don't think I've had any for the other side this season yet. I don't know why I'm feeling a connection to Sheldon. I feel like when Sheldon is by himself, I feel more connected to him. It's when he's interacting with other people that not so much.
And the whole like flipping of the vanity cards is kind of wild. I kind of noticed that earlier today as I was kind of like going through it. It's like the first like few seasons I kept getting all the like really long vanity cards.
Right.
And now you have them. So I'm sure it's only a matter of time until it flips.
I was going to say knock on wood because...
All right. Well, we had 4 IQ points.
Nice. That's solid.
Yeah, it's a good amount. And we had the same one. So you and I were on the same wavelength. Well, all right. Any last minute things on this episode?
Just thinking, if anybody is more interested in train sex, if you haven't seen Risky Business, Tom Cruise is a high school student who his parents go out for a weekend and he turns his house into a bordello. And so all the guys from high school are coming over and sleeping with prostitutes. And he makes a friend out of one of them. And it's her dream to have sex on the train. And there's a very steamy train scene. So I thought about that and I wanted to share that. Since we were talking about trains and sex, I might go watch that movie.
Oh. Well, we know what you're doing tonight. Wink, wink.
Dun, dun, dun.
So as you're listening to this, I hope everybody is cheering on Ryan.
Yeah,
as he's
your
with
garters,
himself.
everybody.
Kelsey's like, what's happening in there?
Wish me luck, babe.
I got this.
I got this.
Well, thanks again for listening. Don't forget to follow us. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, sort of, but we are at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. One day we will increase our socials, but feel free to email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And we will see you next time when we discuss Season 5, Episode 4, The Wiggly Finger Catalyst. See you then.
See ya.
This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Kroll. Thanks for listening. Pikachu.